Does anybody have food in their mouth? Okay, we're getting ready to say the pledge, so I'm not going to start the meeting until everybody's mouths. All right. All right. So we'll call the May 27th meeting of White County Board of Education to order. This is our budget work session. So if you would, before we get started, let's rise and have a pledge. Join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So appreciate everyone being here tonight. Ms. Stone is not able to join us tonight, but she will be here on Thursday. And so, Mr. D, I'm sure that if there's any questions as she reviews the budget, that you can reach out to her and answer those questions if they come about. Tonight's meeting is a little bit different because this is an informational for informational purposes only. We won't be taking any action on any of the items that are on the agenda. That will happen on Thursday. This is an opportunity for us to allow our director to walk through the proposed 2025-2026 school year budget. We have our resources here. Miss Allie, thanks for joining us tonight. All the hard work you did putting this, helping bring this together. Mr. Markham is here as well, so we will proceed in looking at that tonight. We're going to do when we get into our agenda. Just want to make note that been asked to move the school nutrition program budget up. So that way, those that will be presenting on that will have the opportunity. They won't have to go through our entire general purpose school budget, because that'll be a little bit. It won't take quite as long. So that's just an overview of our meeting tonight. Just want to say that it's a reminder, Tennessee Code Annotate and Board Policy 1400 states that every meeting of the board is open to the public except where law allows closed session. The agenda for board meetings are posted on the district's website at www.whitecoastschools.net at least 3 days prior to each meeting. State statute requires that each meeting agenda include an item reserved for public comment. A sign-up sheet is made available prior to the beginning of the regular meeting. Individuals who have signed up prior to the start of the meeting to speak will be recognized in the order listed on the sign-up sheet at the point in the agenda designated for public comment. Board meetings are streamed with the help of Warrior Media for live or recorded viewing. Links are provided on the district's website. Attending and or speaking during tonight's meeting implies consent for comments and appearances to be used. So before we consider the items on our agenda tonight, I'd like to take this time, if there's any board member who have a conflict of interest on the items on the proposed agenda, please let that be known now.
Mr. Chairman, as I do each and every month, nothing on the agenda tonight has a conflict of interest, but just for the record, my wife is an employee of the school system, and want to make sure that all the items that I'll discuss tonight are mine and mine alone, and have no conflict with her being an employee of this district.
Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, my husband is also an employee of this district, but I do not have a conflict tonight, and especially since we're not voting on anything, but the questions and concerns are mine and mine alone.
All right, thank you, Ms. Officer.
My wife is an employee as well of the high school, but the comments that I'll make tonight are mine alone.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So just let the minutes reflect that Mr. McDonald, Ms. Officer, and Mr. Smith all state that they have employees working with the district, but there's nothing on tonight's agenda that would constitute a conflict for them as outlined by statute. So with that, we will seek approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting. And again, as said, we're going to allow school nutrition to present before a general purpose. But that would be the only change to the agenda, just in the order that we proceed. So I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve with moving school nutrition up.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any comments? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So next we will get into the our budgets. We have a school nutrition program, which is still a federally funded program, and then our general purpose school fund, and that is funded from a couple different sources. So this time, Mr. D, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Markham and Ms. Tanya Savage, our supervisor of school nutrition, who have worked really hard on this budget and presented it for you tonight. I'm going to allow them to go through that in its entirety, and I appreciate them being here this evening. So, Ms. Savage, I'll turn it over to you, please. Thank you. And board members, just remind you for audio purposes, if you use the mic when you speak, and we will be starting the school nutrition budget as a single page, or a two-sided page budget. Ms. Savage?
If you want me to, I'll start with revenues first. You will see that because we're all, and I'm very proud of this, that we're all CEP, which all students in White County schools eat free. That's why there's no child income on those first two sections. One thing that I am, we do, get some money from teachers. A la carte sales, I am hoping to implement more a la carte sales next year at the middle school and high school to kind of help offset food cost and things like that. So that's my projection from that. That's what the $42,000 is.
Can I ask one question right
Yes.
there? So what are a la carte sales? I remember a la carte when I was in school, but didn't know if it was still kind of the same thing or if that had changed.
It is not the same kind of things that when we were in school. What it is extras. There's strict guidelines as far as what we can sell from the federal government. I can sell extra entrees, but any other things besides an entree that I sell, it has to be Smart Snack compliant. So there's a lot of regulations. It is just extra things, but it's not exactly like what, you had there.
Right,
So,
okay. I mean,
yes.
so when you saying extras, you're saying like apples and oranges and stuff like
yeah,
that?
extra chicken strips,
strips, okay.
extra hamburgers, hot dogs,
Okay.
Smart Mouth pizza, things like that.
Okay.
Waters, I'm going to bring back selling bottles of water and ice drinks, things like that that meet the USDA guidelines for Smart Snack compliance.
Perfect, thank
One reason I kind of took those away, and you can see we had about $20,000 in a la carte sales, which basically were just hamburgers, hot dogs, things like that, is because before we went CEP, I didn't want to compete with the kids' money as far as paying for their lunches. And so there was a lot of, kids not paying for their lunch, and there was lunch debt. So we've got that cleared out. There was none this year. All of that was taken care of, so I'm going to implement that back.
That's awesome, thank you.
So you can see on the rest of this, other revenues, there's not really a lot. There's some commodity rebates and things like that we do. Some investment income. Chad might can, talk to that if you all, okay.
So with school nutrition program, those funds are held in a separate account because there's federal money in that. With the school federal projects fund, it's on a reimbursement basis. So we've spent those funds and we're just getting reimbursed. Here, under school nutrition, we actually just get paid for the meals that we serve. And so those funds are held separately, and the interest on those accrue back to this fund because they're federal funds.
The state education funds, we do get that around, what was it this year, 23,000, and we're anticipating that next year. And what that helps pay for, that helps pay for some of my salary. It also helps pay for training for the cafeteria staff. Every year, I take all the managers that want to go, it's not a required, but I take all the managers and assistant managers that want to go to Gatlinburg or Chattanooga for our state conference, school nutrition conference, where they can get extra crediting and things like that. And so I pay for that for them and stipends and things. So it's used for training, that 23,000. You know, I pay my staff for, all the staff for my benefits training, and we have a day of mandatory trainings that I have to do with all my county staffs that we meet for a day here. And that's what that 23,000 goes for, is all the extra training that we do with the staff. The federal government, you can see on that, the lunches, you can see that it did go up last year. We held off on making a lot of decisions last year about things, because we didn't know how a whole year of CEP would work. And you can see that it was a little better. You know, we don't have exactly all the final numbers yet, but, you know, it held well. That USDA commodities, the federal government gives us something in all districts, something called entitlement money. And that's based on how many lunches, breakfast and lunches, we sold previously. And there's a formula they use. And that entitlement money, a lot of times it's not just money they send to the district. I participate in something called, it's DOD. And when I first came, I was like, okay, so what is DOD? Because I'm thinking war. You know what I mean? So, but it's not. It is the Department of Defense. But that's where I buy fresh produce. And I usually put $100,000, $110,000 into fresh produce that we buy throughout the year. So that's where a lot of my entitlement, that $200,000 or so, goes into fresh produce throughout the year. Also, we do a commodity processing bid where I can get chicken products from Tyson. There's another company that I buy chicken from, Gold Creek. You know, cheese from different places, and I use that money to get a lower cost for some of the things that I serve. I try to focus on the center of the plate items and things like that. So it's really, I guess, I don't know if this is the right word, in-kind money. We don't really see that money actual in our budget. It's just kind of, especially that DOD, it's just a wash through. But it's something that it's dollar for dollar with that DOD. I don't have to pay for delivery. I don't have to pay anything else. It's just, that's money that I can spend for that, which is very good. Because we'll spend $150,000, $170,000 a year on fresh produce. You can see there how much money we get for breakfast. That USDA other, these are rebates also that we get from the government. There's some companies that, you know, will give us rebates if we use their product, and we use so many. And my program assistant, Donna Griffin, does a really good job tracking that, and that's where some of that money comes from. Also, another thing that the federal government gives us is a warehouse. I forget what it was this year, Chad, 12,000 or something for rebate on money for storage. And they actually bring that to us, like storage. We may have to pay U.S. Foods to hold our commodities there and pay them to deliver. So they help us out some with that, you know, paying some of that delivery. So that's what that is. And do you have any questions about this? Feel free to ask me, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, quick question. For the USDA other, the actual 23-24 was 183,000, but you're proposing 60 for next year. Why the decrease?
Oh, yes. We had some equipment grants and things like that that I was able to get with the help of Sheila Felton. For 2 or 3 years, for a couple years, I replaced a couple serving lines, and the year before, warmers. That's what it was. It was equipment grants that was some money that we had there that we were projecting. Didn't get that this year. Or last year. Thank you, John. Okay, any other questions?
Just amazes me that there's almost $3 million in revenues just in food service through this district. I mean, that's unreal. To hear you say that we are spending $100,000 to $150,000 on fresh produce, that's crazy, man. And my first year on the board, which was almost 11 years ago now, I was baffled then, and I'm baffled now because man, how much produce can you buy for $150,000? For $150,000, and it's crazy to think that you're doing it every year.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, those first three on expenditures, my salary, clerical, cafeteria personnel, you can see that it has gone, we have projected it to go down. And one of the biggest reasons, we're expecting that 2% raise, like I think y'all are doing, Miss Sally, y'all are doing on the GP side. We have figured that in, but with the decrease in enrollment and some different factors, I do something every year called Meals Per Labor Hour Study, where I take 2 or 3 months out of the year, and I look at how many meals we serve, how much a la carte we generate, and how many labor hours that we have. And there's a formula that I have that lets me know, actually gives me a good look at how many meals per labor hour I have. And last year, I thought about dropping some hours then, but I thought, okay, I held on for CEP and see if our participation went up. But this year, it was just, some of the schools were just kind of too low for me not to kind of take 30 minutes from a few people. I had somebody leave at the middle school, and I actually dropped a whole position and spread some of those out to make it. So it really helped as far as that. I hate to do that, but it is a business. And so that's just what I do every year. It's just do meals per labor hour, compare it to last year, and what the school is and what they serve and things like that. So if anybody has any questions for me about how I came up with that, but I just want to be transparent with y'all that there were some hours that I cut. 30 minutes from some people.
How many meals are we serving as a district for the school year? Do you know that number off the top of your head?
If I was on it's a lot. It could be like close to 1 million, 750,000. It's a lot. It really is.
So do you know about how much per day?
I do have
Sort of.
that
Is that
because
on here?
in
Yeah.
case y'all ask me that. Now, this is just an average because it would depend on, if it was after the first of the year when we have those early grads and things like that. But it's just a rough average of like $18,000 a day that we would generate roughly from the government. Is that what you were asking, Ms. Douglas? Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
Savage, do y'all still do like summer feeding programs as well?
We really, this year, we're really going at it hard this year.
Okay.
And actually today, we had a kickoff planned at the YMCA, but the weather did not cooperate. We were going to have it by the pool and feed a lot of kids and grill burgers and hot dogs. But we're changing that to Thursday. But tomorrow is our first I call it big feeding day, on Wednesday at afternoon at Finley. Miss Barnes, Miss Barnes, it's gone up since we've gotten in here. She sent out information on Parent Square and gave them an opportunity to sign up for their children. So we actually have 544 students that their parents have said that they're going to come by tomorrow and pick up meals. And the government has changed it where I'm going to give away 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches tomorrow to each child that comes through. So they've loosened some of those restrictions because before when we had summer feeding, if Miss Douglas brought Braxton, I had to see Braxton eat that lunch. And now you don't have to. It could be a parent, a guardian, you know, and things like that that come pick it up. So that's one thing that's made it a lot easier. So, and like I told Chad and some of these people, you know, if you don't want to come help me feed tomorrow afternoon, don't answer your phone if I give you a call, because I might need some help passing things out, Ashley and Emily. So, but yeah. Yes, Ms. Douglas, we have expanded that. We provide food for the karate camp that's in town. We provide food for the YMCA camp that's here on campus. We have for several years provide food for the reading program that the library has. This year, we're expanding the Y and the karate camp. We feed them for 5 days, but we're actually on Friday able to send them home 2 days' worth of meals, breakfast and lunch, if the parents want it.
So you're not just feeding the kids during the school year, you're going above and beyond and feeding these kids in their extracurriculars
Yes.
during the summer. That's awesome. That makes my heart happy to know that we're able to do that.
Yeah, we're trying. I'm sorry about my coughing. So that's the discrepancy between last year's cafeteria personnel. That's why you'll see a little lower number. Not because I'm not paying them as much, but temporary personnel, that would be cafeteria subs. And you will see that we have gone up on that, and actually we are over this year on our 24, 25. We have had lots of FMLAs and things like that this year that have really hit us hard. And that's one reason that we've gone up to 30,000 on that, because actually the last 2 years we have kind of.
Your workforce is probably not getting any younger.
No. And that's something that I take into account when I do that meals per labor hour study. I had one school a few years ago, of course, they had the mass exodus. They all retired at the same time. Ugh. But they probably had an average age of like 60, 65 in the cafeteria. So I can expect a kitchen with an average age of 65 years old to produce as much as, and most of the time they do, though,
Yeah.
as a younger
more.
one. But okay, let's see. What can I do? Of course, all those other Medicaid compensation, all that's just, what we have to do. Communication, that's our phone and, things like that. We're all on the same, what is that called, Ashley? VoIP, where our phone bills have gone down.
Keep paying that.
What?
Keep paying
Oh, that's
that.
you, Jason. I
Keep
could have
paying
asked
that.
you, yeah. So the schools and Donna, the program assistant, is in the process now of reimbursing schools for the amount at the end of the year for us getting to be on their VoIP system. It's saved us a lot of money since we've started doing that. Dues and membership, we pay for the cafeteria managers and assistant managers and myself and our school nutrition coach and the program assistant to be members of the School Nutrition Association. So that's what those memberships, that's what that is, dues and memberships. Maintenance agreements, this could be, I have monitoring systems on my freezers and coolers, walk-in freezers and coolers, that's part of that. That's a yearly service. Preventive maintenance work on freezers and coolers, ice machines, that's all things that I contract out and have that. And then just general maintenance and repair equipment, that's $336. Pest control, I have a pest control contract every year. They come once a month. Y'all, I'm probably giving y'all way too much information. They come once a month.
Three of us have never heard it, so
Oh, okay.
I appreciate
All
it very
right.
much.
Postage, we don't have as much postage as we once did, so that's really gone down over the years. Transportation other than students, that is yes, we zeroed that out. That is something that we don't have to do anymore, and that's why it's held on there. Travel, of course, that is if I've gone to meetings or, stay overnight at state meetings and things. I also pay the cafeteria managers to drive. They have to drive to the bank at least 2 times a week to deposit. High school and middle school may go daily. Just that kind of thing. That's what the travel is. Permits, we have to pay for our health permits every year. Other contracted services, that could be our, what? Yeah, our commodity processing, some more of that, where we do have money that we have to pay through Tyson and things like that. There's some of that is that in-kind entitlement, and then some of it I do have to pay for, but it's a lot cheaper price that we have to pay for. Food preparation supplies, food supplies. You can see we had allotted that $1,350,000 for this year. We did not meet that goal. We exceeded that goal. So you can see that's why it's gone up. Fingers crossed it will be fine for next year, but we'll just do what we have to do. Office supplies, we had to replace our server in the office this year. That could be, that's data processing down at the bottom, but, just general office supplies. Paper, we provide paper for the cafeterias and supplies. Uniforms, I like to provide the staff, and actually I have one on today because I thought I was going to have to work in the kitchen today, but I do provide them with a shirt, and each day is a different color that they wear. I call it their uniform, just as a service to them, and it looks good when they're all in there looking the same. Okay, there's that USDA commodities. That's where that wash comes through, that $205,000 for this year. It's gone up next year for $221,000. So that's where that DOD, some of that money and things come through. That's where the expenses. But it's basically just a wash. Other supplies and materials. We have a 5th grade, 8th grade, and high school celebration in the cafeteria. We buy balloons and, celebrate their graduation. That's just where things like that come out of. I can't think of what else, Chad, at this time, but it's just odds and ends kind of things like that we need to run the program. Refunds, we do provide refunds to students maybe that leave our district or graduating seniors. A lot of times what happens is, like I've had teachers say, hey, my child's graduating, can you put their money in my lunch account? Sure. But sometimes they want their money, and we do refund them. In-service and staff development, there's more of that. Data processing, that is our student management system, what we have to pay every year for that technology and to do that. And food service equipment. I don't have anything in particular right now that I know I have to replace. Chad and I have done a really good job over the last few years just trying to, look ahead and see what we need to replace and try to transition, old equipment out. So,
I guess one question I did have is on your data processing, can you monitor all of the accounts here in this office from every school? Are they all booked
yes.
through the network, I
Yes.
guess?
We have a server here that we
And
can.
that's what happened with, your server went out and you had to replace that.
Yeah, it was old, and it was getting to be where they were having trouble at the schools, and we were having to reboot all the time, and Ashley can tell you, Ashley does an amazing job. I don't know if y'all know that.
Absolutely.
But she
Absolutely.
had been telling me, Tanya, it's time to rip, and I was like, okay, Ashley, whatever. But this year I just had to, what was it, Ashley, a month or two ago, and she warned me, but I kept hanging on. But it's made it so much better after we changed it.
That technology is not cheap. I mean,
No,
just like
it's
anything.
not. And the year before, I think it was, we got the manager new computer. She does a really good job keeping us on a rotation, and us, not letting them be outdated and too old and things like that. So.
I have a question.
Sure.
The travel expense, so for last year, it was, the school year we're in right now was 12,000. So this year, do what?
Sorry, she was asking what line item, and I said 355.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said.
No, I
sorry.
apologize.
Okay, no, that's.
Yeah.
So in this year, it's 15,000. Did we go, have you guys went over that?
Well, the reason being is my understanding that travel, you want to talk about it, Chad?
Yeah, so for next year, we'll have a new travel policy with new rates and stuff countywide, and so that is factored into that. So
That,
It's about time.
what's the
Thanks,
policy?
Chad.
I don't know.
well, I can pull it up here and tell you.
You mean like what we pay per mile and stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha. That's what I thought maybe.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
May I say
Yes.
just one side note? I just to let my new people, my new friends know, school nutrition's a little different as far as our funding. When we're not in school and we don't sell meals, we don't get money. So just so you all know that. We only get funding based on when we sell meals. It's not just a standard amount every day. So on snow days or 2 hours late and we don't serve we don't serve breakfast, we don't get money. So I just want y'all to know that. That's just something I think needs to be, it's a little different than the funding with the GP, so just so you all know.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Yeah, if you don't get paid for those days, but yet you still have to buy the inventory to be prepared to serve those meals. So hopefully you don't have a lot of discarded food.
No, my staff really do a great job about that. They, we may have some manager's choice meals, to try to get rid of some of that throughout the time, but, it all works out, so.
So, Ms. Savage, just looking at your budget, and thank you for laying this out. The fund balance starting, I guess it was July 1st, 2023, was about $2 million, and now it's projected, I guess, in 2026 would be 870,000 missed. Pretty big drawdown, and I know that a lot of things go into factor into that. Costs go up, and then also the number of meals you sell may go down. But are y'all comfortable with the burn rate of where that's at? Do you think you'll be able to, do you project that there'll be funding that will allow that number not to continue to burn off at that pace?
I am hoping it levels off, but, there are so many factors involved in that. We do have to, by law, we do have to keep a 3 months fund balance in operating expenses. So I'm actually, I don't think we use it in school nutrition, the other supervisor, in excess. So I'm still in excess amount, but it's required for 3 months. I'm hopeful, but, I don't know. You can see how it's declined. It makes me nervous. I'm like, okay, Chad, what are we going to do? I'm hoping it levels off. I really am, And as Chad and I were talking the other day, our reimbursement rates are not going up compared, at a good rate compared to the food and things like that. So we're worried.
Yeah, cost of eggs really impacts your budget.
Yeah.
No, but it was just something that thought it was worth noting that
Yeah.
the burn rate over the past 3 years has I guess accelerated
Right.
along with what's going on with
And I do want to brag on my staff in saying this. If you look at the increase in salaries over the last 2 or 3 years, when we implemented that increase, we've taken all that on ourselves. We've taken on paying for insurance and I forget what else. So actually, we've done a pretty good job considering the increases that we've had over the last few years. So, we're still hanging on and managing. So when you consider things, how we've increased over the last few years, it's not doom and gloom like I want to, because at my house, it's like, well, we gotta have some money.
No,
Not spending that.
I understand, and
Mr. I'm sorry.
not questioning your budget or your method of spending. It's just, it's, I mean,
It's
it's a
just
reality
reality,
that
yes.
we're all facing, and so.
It is a reality, yes.
Mr. D?
Yeah, I just want to speak to that briefly. Similarly to where we see in the special education program, that's a program that's not been funded federally at the ratios in which we think it should be, and obviously for our needs here in White County. And what we've had to do there is they're in a situation where they're beyond that point, and they're spending every federal dollar that they get, and the GP has had to pick that up. You'll see in a few moments in this budget all those positions. So I could see a time, hopefully it doesn't happen, but a time where eventually Ms. Savage is going to say, I can't pay for this extra worker at Cassville, and she's going to be looking to GP to pick that up. And so you'll see that in this budget. That's what's happening right now with SPED. And, we're glad to do that as a district, but it does put a strain on our budget, and that's what would happen in that case. She watches her pennies very closely. She's done a great job. Every time that we implement a raise for teachers or with our support staff rather, she picks that up in her own budget for her staff. And so she's been able to do that and been very frugal with her spending over the years. But we do see that decline, and it's just a supply and demand issue. That's the costs are rising for her department quite a bit. So just want to point that out, that's the example that we're running with special education right now.
And that is an allowable dip into my excess fund balance is increase in salaries and things like that. And every year I have to do a plan of how I'm spending my excess, and that's something that that I put in there. So that is allowable. It's not, a bad thing. They don't want us to have $4 million in excess with school nutrition. They want us to keep it, but yeah.
Right. While it is a business, it's not really a for-profit business, so I understand that. Any other questions? And Ms. Savage, I think I failed in introduction to recognize you for the hard work you did putting this budget together, but certainly appreciate that. Any other questions on our school nutrition budget? Proposed budget for
Just one. What's been the trend line over the last 5-6 years as far as, to your point, Mr. Chairman, the burn rate is, we're decreasing in that burn rate. But if we went back to 21 or 22, what did that look like?
Really adding to fund balance until probably 3 years ago. We were able, and that is why we still have some, because every year I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, we were adding 200,000, 300, 400, just depending on the year, adding every year, and that's given us a cushion in order to kind of help this increase out. But it has really been steadily over the last 3 years, real steady. You know what I mean? Yeah. Did that answer that, Ms. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. It's a good question. So that is the proposed school nutrition program budget for fiscal year 2026. So if you have any other questions about this, the information is provided. Reach out to Mr. Savage, reach out to Mr. D, and they can walk you through that. I do appreciate you giving the heads up that if that burn rate continues at some point in time, that could become a general purpose school fund item that we need to just be mindful of, and I know you are, but appreciate you bringing that up. Board members, is there any other questions on school nutrition? Okay, if not, I failed to mention this too, and I think in our agenda, we have an item on here to review the AIE contract for classroom additions at Doyle Elementary. I think, Mr. Markham, are you staying with us here the entire time? Okay, all right, then, all right, we won't move that up. I won't recommend we move that up. We'll get on into our next item, which is the review of the general purpose school budget for fiscal year 2026. So, Mr. D, I'll turn that back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get too in-depth, I just want to say thank you again, Ms. Savage. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your work on your budget. Thank you to, obviously, Mr. Markham, who his help in putting together our school budget each and every year. Thank you for his presence here tonight. And certainly, Miss Alley, thank you for all your hard work in compiling all these numbers. This is not my budget. This is a collection of thoughts and input from department heads, our supervisors, our school principals. We met about a month ago and started talking about furniture and positions and maintenance needs and the like. And so we sat down with all of those, and then now that gets put into our hands, and Miss Alley puts that into this form that you see tonight. I'd like to preview a few things for you before we get into the budget line items. First of all, when it comes to revenues, the revenues kind of speak for themselves as we go through. You'll see that they're very concrete. There's not a lot of ambiguity there. They are what they are. Since TISA funding, since I started this position in 2016, we're down about 400 students since that time. That's about $2.8 million in current TISA dollars. That tells you right there where that cushion that we've been living in for some time has gone. As expenditures and all of our costs of doing business have gone up, our revenues are, if not staying the same, are going down. And so it's a difficult budget situation to be in for sure. I want to thank Miss Alley specifically. She's gone through and put together some really good kind of cliff notes for you on your budget. There's one section just for revenues, so when you get to one of those strange, I'll go over those tonight, but if you have a question tomorrow or the next day and you say, what is in that other contracted services, she's got that for you, so it explains a definition there, of a description rather of each one of those, and I appreciate her doing that. I also want to say before we get started that in a nutshell, this budget, very similar to previous budgets, is about a $4.1 million overage in what we estimate we will spend and what we expect to spend. We have always, over the years, throughout my years here in White County, we have overestimated our expenditures and underestimated our revenues, and at the end of the day, we wind up in that gap of a safe zone, and just like this year, we're able to contribute money back to our savings account. So this year is no different. If really, it's a little higher if you look at the margins to what similarly you saw in the school nutrition budget. They're projecting that they're going to spend more than they bring in, but they'll live in that margin as well, and if you run that percentage-wise out, it's obviously more money in this budget, but percentage-wise, it's pretty similar to what you expect there. I want to tell you this is a very similar budget to last year. There is one new position in this budget across the district, and I'm hoping that's going to get covered with a grant. And so really there are no new positions that I've added to this budget. We only have one extra teaching position that we keep in there just in case we need to add somebody later. We normally keep 2 or 3. There's a $1,625 raise across the board for all of our licensed staff. That's the next step, and we'll do that again next year, and that'll get us to that $50,000 threshold for entrance for starting teachers, which is mandated by the state by next year. So this is the halfway step to get there, and we'll do that again. There's a 2% across the board raise for our support staff in this budget. There's the $2,000 for the teacher bonus that was set forth by the legislature in the ESA program. There's also $2,000 should the board choose to give that to all licensed personnel. That'd be another 30 people. That's in there as well. And then there's money budgeted for what we'll have to guess will be our health, our medical and retirement and liability insurance increases. They give us an estimate, but we really don't know until about January what those will actually be. All that to be said is that there's nothing new under the sun here. This is the same budget that you saw last year with just the cost of doing business increases. And even I've reduced the amount we're putting into capital outlay by over $100,000 this year. I'm trying to manage this the best we can. But honestly, if nothing changes with revenues, I'm not adding anything this year. There's going to come a point where we're going to have to start looking at cuts and cutting programs and cutting people is the only way that you can start saving money if something doesn't change with our revenues. So I think that we're okay right now. I think I know that this is a budget that we can maintain this year, but moving forward in subsequent years, there's just nothing added to this that's going to move us forward. So just want to say that. What I'd like to do is go through the budget. I will go through section by section, and I'll try not to belabor the point because there's a lot of information to go over. But at any point that you want to stop and ask a question, just please interrupt me. And otherwise, for time's sake, I will move quickly. And again, like I said, if you have reference notes that you can turn to should you have a question about any line item. All right, ready to begin, Mr. Chairman?
Or board members, everybody understand what's in front of you. And Ms. Alley, I appreciate the cheat sheet. I think should be helpful to all of us, even if those that have gone through this exercise before. So thank you for putting that together and for that summary.
All right, so board members, I'm gonna start on page 1. I'll try and tell you, I'll be following along with the account numbers on the left-hand side column, and we'll jump along there. If you get lost, just let me know, and we will get you back on the right track. All right, so we're starting on page 1. These are revenues, so looking at the money coming into the district, starting in account number 40000. This is our local taxes. Get into property taxes. Most of these are self-explanatory. Trustees, interest and penalties, in lieu of payments. All of our current all the property taxes total up to $3,947,132. Then you have your county local option sales taxes. That's broken down into sales tax, wheel tax, and mixed drinks tax. That is an amount of $3,095,000. Yes.
For the current property tax, 4110, this may be a Chad question. How is that estimate determined? 3.7 million. The same thing for the local option sales tax.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. The current property tax, so we get everybody got a reassessment notice right in their mailbox a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So the way that works during reassessment happens every 5 years in White County. The values are brought up to market values according to the state, and then the property tax rate is lowered so it becomes revenue neutral. So in a sense, your house may have increased by 100%, but if the certified tax rate is adopted, which is the rate that the state gives us, then your tax bill stays the same, essentially. It might change up a little bit or down a little bit, but it's, relatively the same. What happens then is the county commission has to determine whether they want to keep that certified tax rate or exceed the certified tax rate. Right now, we are estimating the $3.7 million, and that just off the press went down a couple of $100,000. But that is based on numbers that we get from the assessor of properties office. We divide that out, and your tax penny you'll hear us talk about is $97,300. It's almost doubled from last year because of that assessment change. But we would be allocating 36 pennies. The county would be allocating 36 pennies to the school system for next year, and that's at $97,300 a piece. And then there's other taxes that are broken down on here that are divvied out based on that percentage of the overall tax rate. But it all goes back to the assessment notices that you get. So we take that number and recalculate it. As far as the local option sales tax, we take that as a historical trend. And for the past few years, that has been going up pretty significantly. Here, as of this year, it's leveling off. It appears to be leveling off. In December sales of 24 were below December sales tax collections of 23, so we did see that. Hoping that that would right itself over the next couple of months, but it didn't. It followed a similar path. So those are starting to level off.
So, Mr. Markham, did I see, and you said that the fixed tax rate, the state sets that, correct? Is that, it was at 2.05, is that what I've seen at one point?
So currently, the tax rate is $2.05 per $100 of assessed value.
Okay.
So that's 205 pennies. The state will take the revenue that's generated countywide off that, and they'll say, okay, at these new assessed values, to get that same amount of money, what does your tax rate need to be?
Do we
So
know
they'll do
that
that
amount
equation.
yet?
We are estimating that to be at about $1.21. We don't have that certified tax rate yet, but just based on our preliminary calculations, we're expecting it to go down to $1.21. And then the county commission has to determine whether to raise it above that or not.
Okay, all right, thank you. I know it's been a hot topic, everybody talking about it.
So I know this is only proposed, but we won't know definite till after they meet in June, correct?
Right, so the county commission will vote. The plan is for the county commission to vote on the tax rate and the budget as a whole in June, yes. But based on their conversations currently, we would have it at 36 pennies for the school system.
All right, thank you, Mr. Markham. So I'm about midway through, and I'm on 4,300 statutory local taxes, bank excise tax, and then all the local taxes. The total we have right now is $7,090,916. Beyond that, we have licenses, 41,100, marriage licenses, permits. Don't make a lot of income off there, about $2,000 a piece there. Then you turn over to page 2, top of the page, 43,000 is charges for current services.
Got a question.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm working. Yeah. So permits, are the building permits not added into this? Or are they, and I'm just missing it?
No, that is actually, the building permits don't run through this. They would run through the county general fund. Those permits are actually the helping education license plates that are sold in the county. I think there's 3 countywide maybe that are sold.
Okay, again, on page 2, top of the page, we have tuition for out-of-county students that is paid to the district. That's 43,511. 43,542 is money we receive from TCAT for services for classes that we teach on behalf of their institution. 43,551 school-based health services. That's the Stellar organization the board voted to. We get money back. They file the paperwork on our behalf for those services, and we get the kickback money there. So that's that income received there. And 43,570 receipts from individual schools. Ms. Hallie, what is that 65,000 that we get there on 43,570 receipts from individual schools? Okay, for their phone bills, for their communications that we receive from the schools. Okay.
One quick question, 43,511, tuition pay for students. How many students do we have district-wide that are paying tuition?
Not many. I don't know. It's probably less than a dozen. There's $500 a student, and max $2,000 for a family right now. That's very low compared to what other districts charge. We'll talk about that later when we have to when we're looking at ways to raise revenue and how we allow other students to come into our district. But right now, that's what we charge. And then that's a question I need to ask Mr. Markham as we look at property rates. And that number is based on a parcel and what a tax would be paid on a parcel of land. And then we also added the wheel tax because we felt like that's what we were losing by that family not living in our district at minimum. But at least we felt like that was a system of where that number came from. We didn't just pull that out of the air. So if some people charge $1,500, $1,700, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. So at least that, but we may need to look at that moving forward. And we don't want to charge people too much, but we want to be fair to our taxpayers. Okay, moving down to the middle of page 2, 4,400 other local revenues. We have leasing and rentals. We charge the daycare, going up on rent for the daycare that serves our community here out of this building. Then we move down to the bottom of that page, 44,390 other local revenues. That 28,300, that's White County High School basketball. We get a portion of ticket sales, and that goes back in to help pay for bleachers when we repair them and other upgrades to the facility when needed. You'll recall we did about $200,000 worth of bleachers last year, I think, before the season started. Then also there's 28,300 in bus signage and White County High School parking permits. That goes back into helping pay for paving, and which we'll do this summer. So that's where that money is generated from. Yep. So the total local revenues there is at the bottom of that page, $34,600. Over to page 3. Yeah. Top of page 3. Chad, you want to explain the OPEB thing to me one more time? There's $200,000 that goes in and out of our budget for accounting purposes, and Mr. Markham can speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. D. Yeah, so this is similar to what Tanya talked about in the school nutrition program with the funds kind of going in and out. There's really no money that changes hands here. We just have to recognize a revenue and expense. OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. And so when teachers retire and are on the state health insurance plan prior to 65, then they're eligible for a rate discount through the state health insurance, and then that, not a discount, but a differentiation in the state health insurance. And then we have to take our portion of that and as applicable to our retirees and recognize that as a revenue and expense. But there's no cash that goes in or out there. It's something that the state pays on our behalf, essentially.
All right, thank you, Mr. Markham. Okay, middle or top third of page 3. This is it's line 46,500 state education funds. So this is the main majority of our funds from the state. TISA funds, 46,510. TISA funding in the amount of $29,009. That's a minimum of $7,075 per student, and then based on their needs, individual needs, it may be more than that. But that's where the bulk of our state funding. Couple.
Am I reading that right? We're about $30,000 and some change less than what we were last year on TISA funding. So.
Yeah, they pull on the 15th of every month. They pull our ADM,
Okay.
and so that's where that number comes from. So.
So last year we were at 29,030,955 actual, right, in 23, 24, and we're saying this year we're going to be $29,009. Wow. Okay.
Just a question here. Just a reminder, we did start this TISA funding in 2023. Or that was the first year we used TISA.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
A couple lines down, 46,515 early childhood education. That's pre-K teachers. Some are pre-K. 509,185. 46,590 other state education funds. The $734,240. That's salary equity funds. That's funds that we get from the state to match small schools versus large schools to equal compensation for for our employees. Career Ladder Program is 46,610. There's not many folks left in that program anymore. And then you have the total for our state education funds.
Quick question.
Mhm.
For the items that were actual numbers in the actual column that there aren't any proposed budget numbers, is there a general rhyme or reason for that throughout the entire document? Or does it depend on the row, essentially?
So Ms. Alley can perhaps speak to this, but there are some things like BEP, there is no BEP anymore, so that's just a line that we've kept in the formula, but kept in the document. Sometimes there will be money that goes into a category that we will have one year, and then next year we won't, depending on some needs. So it's just kept there for accounting purposes in that line item.
Or why was the actual for 23, 24 for the other state education funds so much higher in that year, the 1.5 million versus the 734 we're proposing for next year?
What can you tell me what line?
Sure, 46,590.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. It's just a large variance between what we
the
received.
salary equity. Is that salary equity?
Okay.
You make a note to get that for him, so.
It just stuck, kind of jumped out because of the large variance.
All right, moving on to middle of the page, other state revenues, 46,851, state revenue sharing from TVA. That amount is 194,397. Down a couple lines, 46,990, other state revenues. There's $100,000 there. That's the paid professional leave money we receive from the state to pay for those that are on that leave and the substitutes that are needed. Okay. Moving down to bottom of that page, 47,640, 73,000. That's what we received from the Army for ROTC reimbursements. And then on page 4, bottom of the page 4, you have some transfers in for grants out of $15,000, and that takes you to your total for revenues for $38,098,552. And this is state and local. Of course, we have lots of federal grants we receive. There's federal money that'll come in the fall that we don't know right now. But this is our state and local revenues. Any questions on revenues? Are we good to continue on, Mr. Chairman?
I think so. Board members, any questions?
Okay.
Following it okay? Thanks for the clarity from Mr. Markham and yourself, Ms. Sally.
You're very welcome. All right, we'll keep moving. We'll go into, this is page 5. We'll go into our expenditures at this point, very similar fashion. I'll go through section by section. I'm not going to belabor every point. There's a big section, chunks of these that are benefits, or benefits, insurance, that sort of thing. So I won't go over all those, but I will point out the ones that are maybe a little more, rather ambiguous. If it says other or objects not in use, things like that stand out, large ticket items. But I'll be glad to answer any questions on any line that you have. All right, starting with 71,100 teachers, that 14,322,470 jumps out. That is 224 classroom teachers. Not all teachers are included in that number, but that's where that number comes from. Jumping down to a few lines to educational assistants, 71,100, 163. That 992,000, that's for 42 educational assistants. Just below that, other salaries and wages, 189. That is the bonuses that are built in from the ESA. So that's that $582,000.
Bonuses for just the teachers?
That's the bonuses just for the teachers. And Miss Ally, that number is just for the teachers that were paid for for the 290. Okay, yeah, that doesn't include the extra 30 that you've got budgeted somewhere else, right? Oh, it's in 116? Oh, it's already built in there, okay. All right, substitute teachers, non-certified subs. Sure.
There on that. So in the 116, 71, 100, 116, the teachers, so you're saying that the $1,650 bonus or the increase in salary is already built into that 14,322,000, correct? Okay.
Yes, the salary increase of $1,625 is built in that. We were talking about the extra 2,000 as well, the other 2,000 from the Education Savings Act that was proposed by the state. So there's money for that 2,000 in that 116 line item for 30 teachers, as
Okay.
well as, and then down below is the other 291
Okay. All right. Sure.
in the 189 category.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Wait just one second. Can you say that again? 'Cause I think I misunderstood.
So all the teacher bonuses on the pay scale this year was $625. That's built into line 116 for teachers.
1,625.
1625,
Yeah.
yes. Then the bonus money of $2,000 for 30 teachers that weren't included in the definition of teachers under the ESA definition are included in that line as well. That would cover all licensed personnel. Then going down to 189 is where the other 2,000 for every other teacher is budgeted. That's the 582.
And that 582 is reimbursement from the state. So that's basically just a wash. When we see that come in, it'll be coming in and going out all at the same time. Okay. Right, okay.
That's based on their definition of
The classroom.
who got
Correct.
the, yeah.
Okay, so the 582, it's for the 291 teachers, not this 30 that we're trying to slide in there.
Correct.
Because this 30 is extra. Am I not correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I want to know who are the other licensed administrators? I got the school psychologist, but I don't see anything in here for the teacher's aides. Am I wrong?
There's not yet, no.
Okay.
No,
So-
other than there is, we did a 2% increase for all staff positions.
Okay. Can we get a definition of who these licensed administrators are?
Yes.
please? So that's a 582,000.
No.
That's what I'm saying. That's 30 people, and that's the 582,000? Or no, it's added in with the 14 million.
Yes.
$91. Okay.
That's $60,000 would be the addition of those 30 people in that 14 million.
Question.
Okay.
So, state had definition as far as who received. Make sure we're talking about the same bonus here. Maybe I need to get my cheat sheet out. So, the state had guidelines as far as what you had to do to qualify for the bonus. Had to be licensed. Got to spend what 50% time, 50% instructional time with students, and then the question was, well, what about the others that help contribute to that? And so what I'm understanding is that you identified or proposing, you would be proposing 30 administrators who are licensed and school psychologists that also requires a license. So basically, it's the $2,000 bonus is for state license. You've got you have the state license. That's the reason why it's not just across the board everybody. It's basically the $2,000 for the teachers who are licensed, but then also administrators have to be licensed as well as school psychologists. They have FaceTime with kids too, just not maybe necessarily from instructional side, but that's where that's what's being proposed.
So by definition of what the state proposed and their definition of teachers, we came up with the 291 teachers, and that's line item 189. That's what we've put in there. So if the board wanted to stick with that, that's what this budget would propose, or would entail. There's also $60,000 in 116 if the board wanted to cover that remaining 30 teachers, which are administrators and school psychologists. But if the board doesn't want to do that, then we just reduce that line item by $60,000, and we would pay out at 189 just like it's proposed. So
Okay.
now there's not any extra right now built in for support staff other than their 2% raise across the board, and the board has the option of doing something different with that as well.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're all clear on this, okay? Because this gets, and I appreciate from the accounting portion of this, how you work that in. But just want to make sure we're all clear on how we are abiding by the Freedom of Education Act. And we're saying we're doing that through line item 189. That right there covers our requirement to the state. Then the other 30 identified, it's being proposed, again, licensed employees who are administrators. Those 30 that have been identified have been added to the 116 line. That would not be a recurring cost. Correct. So we'd see it in this. Next year it floats back around, it would not include that extra. Okay. So just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. So thank you.
I just want to make sure. So line 189 is pre-K through 12th grade.
That's correct.
Now, so if we wanted to look at the educational assistance that's in with these licensed teachers, can we get a number for how many of those we have?
Yes, I think Mr. Smith says some numbers. I provided some documentation on that.
I don't know that I would know how to interpret this correctly based on your definition, Ms. Fowler. I'm happy to show somebody this.
Yeah.
Let you determine.
I'll be glad to, I can share what I've shared with you to everybody. But he's after that information. Of course, when you talk about educational assistance, then, everybody does a valuable job, and, so it's not, there's a lot of more support staff than just educational assistance. And so, I think the board would then want to consider others as well. So I have numbers on that. I think we broke that down. I have some numbers on what everybody looks like at $500 versus $1,000 and that sort of thing. I can share that with you tonight.
So
Did you already get that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yay me. I've sent a lot of emails. If you have that, you want to look at that, that'll give you an idea of what that would cost, what that addition would be. So, I know there was some discussion about at the last meeting or last time it was discussed among some board members about all the certificated folks, and that's where that extra 30 came from, but certainly open to whatever the board wants to discuss about support staff as well.
I think I did a little math on that, and maybe math was not totally correct, but taking what you had sent us, it was, if we did 2,000 across the board for everybody, it was another 500 and something thousand dollars for everybody, from bus drivers to cafeteria aide, cafeteria folks, everything. I think it was another 500 and something thousand dollars was what it would cost us. And I don't know, I may be way off.
No, that would be close. I mean, we don't have exactly 300 staff and 300 teachers, but it's in that two-something
Yeah.
ballpark. So if you multiply that by 2,000 apiece, you'd be in that ballpark. I don't remember the exact numbers right now, but whatever I sent to you, but that'd be pretty accurate.
So, board members and Mr. D, I'd like to suggest that double check your emails, make sure you have the information for what it would look like for that would be bonusing non-licensed staff. Because in our district, you pretty much have two categories of staff. You have licensed staff and you have non-licensed staff. And so what the state asked us to do, comply with for the teachers to get the raises, to make sure that we would give licensed staff based on their criteria. And it has been proposed that we include 30 additional licensed staff. So that would cover all the licensed staff. And if we were going to do something for non-licensed staff, then we would need to do our homework and then bring that up in Thursday's meeting. So that's where we would make that decision. So if you have questions on that, reach out to Mr. D. When we come up and we put the budget on the table for discussion, then at that point in time, we would go through and make amendments and take action on those amendments, such as adding non-licensed staff to that. But that would take place on Thursday night. So just make sure if you've got questions, these are good questions that we're all in the same room can hear, but if you have any further questions, make sure you get that before Thursday night's meeting.
I have a question. Do you know, Mr. D, like other counties, how they're handling this? I mean, have y'all talked at all?
Yeah, I've talked it's all over. I mean, there's some people that are doing a little something for everybody. There's a lot of people that are doing just what
it's,
because of their budget constraints, they're paying just what the state paid, and that's the only people getting it. And I want to make a note too, we weren't trying to add 30 people here. Miss Allie, just at the information she had, she put that in the budget, so it was there. It can be taken out if the board doesn't want to do that. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that all those extra 30 people get that. So that was just a budgetary thing. At the point that she was with the information she had, she budgeted for all of them because there was conversation at that time that that's the direction that we might be going. So, so I want to point that out. I mean, if the board was to pull that out, that's $60,000 we'll take out of that 116 category. But at the same time, if the board wants to do something with support staff, I fully support that. But we also, have to be realistic about where the budget and where that will come from. We're already 4.2 over. So that's just a consideration. So certainly support it, and I think those people deserve every penny. But that's just need to consider that as we look at those numbers.
So, and I think board members, we just all need to make sure this was pointed out to us in our summary about the basic overall increases to our budget. So it's just the clarity. Now we can take an account number and assign that to the third and fourth items on that reference page. So thank you both for that, and we understand that this is a proposed budget. It's not a we recommend you do this budget.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move forward here. So starting at that 189, we understand that one's bonuses. We have certified subs, non-certified subs, then all their benefits. Bounce down to, it's like line 429. Those are the instructional funds. This what was BEP. So As teachers get $200, classroom teachers $200 per classroom. That's what that money is. $500,000, $499. That's textbooks. And $599 other charges. That's sports. Is that right, Ms. Hadley? I think that's correct. And then that's broken down on your sheet. And then the last large item there is 722, 385,000. Those are computers that we buy every year. That's part of the Chromebook. Is that Chromebooks? Yeah, I think it is. Okay. That's regular instruction. Moving on to special ed, 71,200. And again, this is SPED GP. We get a lot of funds from federal program. A big majority of our SPED funds come from federal, but this is the GP portion of that. As I was talking about, what we have to pick up, what they can't pay for anymore, this is what we pick up. So 116 category in SPED is 1,820,180. That's 30 special ed personnel. Some career ladder money, and then educational assistance for special ed, 360,000. That's 17 positions there. Benefits, and then the total is at the bottom there is $2,796,055 is SPED GP. Page 6, vocational education program, CTE. 71,300, line 116 again, teachers. 14 teachers is $834,900. Benefits, and a total of $1,575,725 for vocational. Next, 72,200. This is attendance. 105 is Brian Haley, his position, salary and benefits, travel, 119,680. Next section, 72,120, health services. 105, supervisor, that's Marcy Kennard's position. 2 down, 189, other salary and wages, that's 280,000, that's for nurses. Down, 499, other supplies and materials. That's contracted services for our nursing program, as is other charges, 15,000. Those are both contracted services from our nursing program.
Quick question on the health services. Is that, is Marcy, is she the nursing supervisor and director of nursing and coordinated school health, or is coordinated school health?
She's the coordinated school health director. She's the director of that program. She does oversee the 8 nurses in our schools as well.
So that's all lumped together in
Yes.
one department?
Yes.
Okay. I know other districts are that, they have that separated, so
Yeah.
just didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Next section I'm on the top of page 7, 72,130, other student support. Line 123, guidance personnel. Those are our guidance teachers. That's 696,500. And then a secretary, one of the secretaries of the school, so guidance department 42,350. 189, other salaries and wages. That's Richard Bumbelow, our behavior specialist. Benefits. Then you go down to, not sure what 399 contracted services is in that one. Okay, that's athletic trainer and part of the SRO that we pay for part of our athletic trainer. We partner with Star Physical Therapy. We pay half that salary, and then we pay for one SRO. The state grant pays for all the others. It's the extra one at the high school. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in, yes, 399, other contracted services. Thank you. Yep. Okay, just below that, 471, $300,000, that's software. I don't know which ones that is. Is that all of? Okay, yeah, that's our curriculum software, iReady, yeah, and yeah, Mastery Connect and iReady. That's our benchmark software that we did. We used to do MAP and Renaissance, and we've had Star, we've had Edgenuity, yeah, we have a number of those we use now. Okay, that's other, I'm just going to, excuse me, health services. That's 1,399,530. Regular instruction program 72,210, bottom of page 7. 105, this is our curriculum supervisors. That's Angela Fresh and Valerie Butcher. 129 is librarians. We have 6 of those. A couple of them travel. Clerical personnel 162, that's half of a position. 163 is 1 educational assistant. And then 189 is 1 position in support of, I forget who says that one, 189, do you remember, Miss Allie? Okay, data clerk at the middle school, thank you. Salary benefits, scroll down to 399, that's 6,000, that's the K9 service that we use. And then 432 is the library books that each library gets an allotment for books each year, new books in circulation. And that is a total of 940, 925 for a regular instruction program.
I guess one quick question in the travel portion of there in that, the regular instruction program, 355, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do our librarians that travel, do they get reimbursed for their travel from school to school, or is that just for travel for Miss Butcher, Miss Fresh, and anybody that they go to conferences on?
So the traveling teachers do not get reimbursed in that regard unless they go on a specific training, because they go to their work and they work there for 2 days, and then they go to the other school and work for 2 days. So that's considered normal travel for their work day. And that is for their travel. But also Ms. Fresh can send teachers to trainings through her funds as well. So we'll send a lot of our lead teachers to some trainings, and they'll use those funds to do that. So it's not just for Ms. Butcher and Dr. Butcher and Ms. Fresh.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Top of page 8. Special ed program, support services in special ed. 105, supervisor and director. That's the director's salary in line 105. Dr. Davis hopefully will be here Thursday to meet with you all. She's going to be here for a meeting, and we're excited to have her coming on board. We miss Dr. Thompson already, but we're excited that she's coming on board to join us. 124, psychological personnel, that's our school psychologist, 134, 700. And then there's clerical personnel, 162. That's a share of about 4 different people share some of those funds for the SPED department. Benefits, and then moving down to benefits and travel. Other contracted services, 399, 45,000. That's our OT-PT services that we contract out. And then materials and supplies for a total of 382, 895. Next section, vocational education program, 72,230. Fund 105, that's Lane Ward and his supervisory role. 161 are 2 positions for secretaries. Benefits and travel. And then down at the bottom of that section, 499, actually 399, other contracted services, that's 60,000 is for TCAT. That's reimbursement for their teachers that we share with TCAT. 30, and that's the total of that whole program. That line rather is 255, 290.
How many teachers are through TCAT?
Do you know, Miss Allie? 3 or 4. Yeah,
Like
I think
nursing?
welding, nursing, and mechatronics,
Okay.
and there might be one more.
Okay. Just one of the nursing, though, isn't it? Just one
Yes.
of those.
Yes.
One of them.
Yes. All right, technology 72,250. Supervisor, that's Ashley Rust, is line 105. Data processing personnel, it's Darla Dunn's position, is 121. And we have 189 other salaries and wages. That's 2.5 positions for support staff or techs. Benefits and travel, some consulting fees. 350 objects not in use. That's E&A, right? That's our internet service. 399, 23,000 is Skyward, our student information system. 471, the 157,000, that's software for her program. And then $245,000, that's the Chromebooks that we purchase for each incoming 8th grade class. Is that correct? Yeah. So the 8th graders carry them on through their senior year, and then they get to keep them. So
Is there a certain rotation for staff computing? Like every 5 years you replace it?
that, I think that's coming up, or did we already address that? I think it's coming up in the budget. Is that in your budget? And that's in ours. Yeah, I think I have it marked on here, but yes, there's a rotation, and we started doing that. We felt like similar to mowing in the way that we reimburse. They have some skin in the game. They take care of the computers, and they try and purchase only what they need, and so that's the way we do it with the schools, and we reimburse them a large portion of that. Okay. Again, you'll see that in and out. This is the expenditure portion of that in and out OPEB payment. You see right in the middle of page 9, that $200,000 for accounting purposes only. And then 72,310 Board of Education. But line 191 is the whopping salary that you get paid by the county to do this every month. Do you want to say something? Oh, you've just cleared your throat. I'm sorry.
No, sir, I did
Okay,
not say
I
anything.
just want to make sure.
But I can.
No.
No,
It's your meeting. I just want to make sure.
No, you're fine. Continue on.
In-service training, benefits, travel, expenses. About middle of that, 213, payment to retirees. That's the money we pay. Mr. Markham was talking about insurance payments that we make for to retirees from our county. Is that the $1,500 that they get until 65, right? Yes. 30 or more years retiring with us, yes.
Question for that, you said 30 or more years. Is that 30 or more years in this particular system, or 30 years of service through the state TCRS?
If they retire with us as a teacher, they don't have to have it all with us. But
Okay.
if they retire with 30 years in TCRS, then
Okay.
with us, then they
All
get
right.
that benefit.
That's what I was wondering.
Other fringe benefits, that's 25,000 on 299. That's sick leave. What is that, Miss Haley? I forgot. Support staff. That's right. If support staff retire with 30 years or more of service, then we pay their remaining sick days. So that's the funds that provided to. Correct. Thank you. Up to 60 days. 316 contributions at 55,000. That is one half of. Yes, Ms. Rigsby, that we split the HR with the county. We split that position with them. Yes. All right. Other payments to trust commissions, workman's comp. The last line, 533, is for fingerprinting, and the total of the board is 718, 735. All right, top of page 10, Director of Schools, 72,320, 101 is my salary. I'll let Mr. Let's go up 2%, so I'll let Mr. Chairman Young speak to that if he wants to. Career Ladder program, actually, if you go down a couple to 183, 189, I'm sorry, 189. That's CEO credit. That's the $1,000 I get for going to all my trainings, and getting those 10 days worth of training each year. And that's, the state will pay us $1,000, but we budget for that, and then we get reimbursed from the state. Salary, benefits rather, and travel. There's actually communications fees. That's gone up a little bit for phones and computers, and my dues for TOS or TSBA. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. 188,340 for that category.
Board members, I want to provide the same transparency as what our director and Miss Sally is providing on this. Miss Sally reached out to me and said we need to budget for our director's salary, and by contract it's 2.5% per year adjustment. So needed to put a number in there, and to prepare ourselves for discussion on Thursday night. I instructed Miss Alley to put in the number of 120,000 for salary. I'll tell you where the logic came from for coming up with that number. That number, I reviewed data from the 2023-2024 district, not White County district, but the district that we're in for the state for education with Putnam County, Cumberland County, Warren County, all the way up to Macon County, and looked at that salaries versus sizes of the school districts, and we have been underpaying for a director position. If we had to go out and hire today a replacement for the director, that number would be the 120 would probably be a starting point entry if we had to go out and hire today. So basically what I did, I took the average of where those comparable districts of a size of ours, and so figured what that average of those of that salary was, and added 2.5% per year to that. And that's how it came to the 120 number. But that's just for your information of how that number got there, and we can certainly debate that on Thursday. But I just, full transparency, wanted to let you know how that number was put in there, and it's at our discretion of what that final number is, and we'll review that on Thursday night.
Mr. Chairman, one quick question. I know you've done your homework on that, but where does that number fall in line with all the other districts in the Upper Cumberland as far as pay-wise for the director? Are we in the top third? Are we in the bottom third? Are we in the middle?
I'd have to go back and revisit that. Mr. McDonald, what I was trying to look at was average for districts comparable to our size. There are some districts and some systems within our district that have elevated pay scales. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Not sure how they would justify the salary, but you know that's they didn't ask me to come down there and give them input on how they set their director salaries. So, but I was just going based on what in our district, what schools of comparable size, and this was based on where it was 2 years ago, and just added that cost of 2.5% cost of living adjustment. So we needed someplace to start. So Ms. Alley asked me for a number, so that's where I landed.
All right, thank you.
And it's a round number too, so we can, easy for us to remember.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you for even considering that. I just want to say the number that I would have budgeted was 107,425, which I think is the 2% raise from where I was this year. I appreciate y'all considering that. I will just say I'm very proud to be the director of schools here. The the salary is, it's not on par for where it should be, but I don't advocate for myself in that regard very often. But I'll send you more information than you care to know. We'll look at tomorrow on that. But just for an example, the last I looked at it, White County is the 64th largest district in the state of Tennessee out of 147, and my pay is about 120th. So it's very disproportionate from where it is in a lot of, but as the chairman said, those numbers are all over the place. Some of the smaller districts have some really high salaries. I'm not pushing for that, but I do think that I've done an admirable job. I'll show you the accolades over the past 9 years, and I'm about to be the longest tenured superintendent in the Upper Cumberland. Because they don't just stick around too long anymore. But nevertheless, I'll give you a bunch of information. I just appreciate you all considering it, and that's just a budgetary number that the chairman put in there, and it's not my ask, but I appreciate you all considering it.
If I could just, board members, just a reminder. I mean, this is a budget line item that we do have more input on than others. So just give that some consideration. Look over, and then just be prepared that we spend some time on that subject on Thursday.
Thank you. I had a director just recently call me from another district that's about half our size saying, I need you to help me with my budget talks. And I said, you make a lot more money than I do. Maybe you need to help me. But anyway, nevertheless, thank you all for your consideration. Okay, middle of page 10, 72410, Office of the Principal. 104, our principals are 8 principals, head principals, $665,500. We have 119, 3 accountants or bookkeepers that are in that number there. 139 assistant principals, $535,000. There's 8 of those assistants. Line 161, there's 8 secretaries accounted for in that number. Benefits. And then the bottom 307 is in that line is communication. There's 60,000. That's for phone bills. Yes, the high schools is about $1,000 a month, I think.
Cell phones as well.
No, they have cell phones as well, but is that in there? Is that where you take that? But they pay that out of their, for us, and they pay that internally. They reimburse us. Okay, 72,510, bottom of page 10, fiscal services. 105, that's Miss Alley's position. 161, secretaries at the BOE, and that's 162 also for clerical. Some benefits in there. 316 contributions, that's our accountant fees. Some travel, office supplies, and that's that total number in that category is 241,070, top of page 11.
Mr. D, if I could just for a second, on that contributions, 13,000. Did I hear you correctly? Is that accountants? Is that when they do our annual audit of the school audit?
Is that you? Finance department. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Our contribution for you providing your fiscal services. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Is there like some special contracts, like 100-day contracts, different, like where do some of those
Yeah,
fall?
they're coming up. We just have a few, we have just a few, and they're like 40 days. I think we had 3 people doing 120 days total, so each one was doing about 40 days. We'll get to that just a little bit, but I'm going to speak of it now. But when we get there, like Ms. Markham comes in, and when we work through monitoring, she was very helpful through monitoring. And in fact, she was just here this past week. They were doing a lot of monitoring or inventories for federal, checking all the barcodes, checking all that out. She could go to one school. Ms. Felton was at another, and they're very helpful. So Mr. Lynn helps us with a lot of curriculum. He does some observations for us and a lot of spreadsheet work with our data when it comes in. Steve Wilson. Oh, yeah, he's on that contract as well with the hidden mowing service. He took that over, and he left the middle school as a vice principal. So did I miss, they were in the teacher category, so I skipped over that. Oh, I had that noted on it. Coach Crane as well, yeah. Yeah, those are all part-time people. Okay. Operation of plant, middle of page 11, 72,610. 166 line, that's for 38 custodial personnel, 1,245,500. 189, that's mowing services. Is that correct? Oh, that's Roger's position. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Roger Thorpe that supervises our custodians. I apologize. You're right. Sorry. Benefits. Moving down, you see the middle of that, we have our utilities, electricity, natural gas, water and sewer. I think we're leaving pretty similar numbers budgeted. Is that right for next year, Miss Allie? Similar to what we did this past year. We had money left over in those categories, so we didn't raise those. And building contents and insurance, 313,300. In total, that category is 3,331,960. Okay, maintenance of plant, bottom of page 11, 167. That is 5 maintenance personnel and some lawn mowing people. We pay extra for some folks to mow for us. Salary benefits, pest control, scrolling down here, $499. That's mowing, is that correct? Okay, yeah, $499. Other supplies and materials. Just beneath that, $599 other charges, $185,000. That's materials and supplies for the maintenance department, all the gadgets and glue and wood and things that they need. Septic tank money and maintenance equipment, $225,000. And that total is $814,175 for maintenance of plant. 72,710. This is middle, top third of page 12. Transportation, 105. That's Randy Alley's line item for his salary. 142 is for our 2 mechanics. 146 is $825,000 for 35 bus drivers. 162, I think that's Lori Summers, this receptionist, secretary at the bus garage. 189, other salaries and wages, $95,000. Those are our bus attendants that ride the buses. And then we have lots of benefits, diesel fuel, garage supplies. Did we go up on fuel much, Miss Allie? Yes, we are getting, what are we getting, 2 propane buses? 3. Oh yeah, 3. We get 3 and we should, that's part of a grant program, and we should be getting reimbursed basically for 1. So we're buying 3 for the price of 2 is basically. So that line item, the very bottom of that category, transportation equipment, line 729, at 466,500. That is for 3 buses. But they're very expensive. They're $150,000 now. That were the ones that we buy with little, all they have is a little storage underneath and the cameras. I mean, they're good buses. They're the extended long nose buses. But
Did I hear you correct that they run on propane?
they do run on propane, the 3 that we're purchasing. So we, as part of a grant program that we've been hearing a lot about, a lot of green energy programs, and we've had a lot of folks reach out to us about electric. I'm not sold on the electric just yet. Really just from a safety standpoint. I could be proven wrong, but if you've ever YouTube those batteries going up, they catch fire in an instant. The propane ones are very safe. I feel like they can travel a little bit longer distance. And that's the other thing about the electrics is you don't want to get them too far out of town, and you can't send them on long trips and things like that. So the propane's a little bit different. So we will have a little expense to put in. We've budgeted for the propane tank that we'll have to put in to fill them up. But we're excited to get a little bit greener fleet going. So we are purchasing 3 propane buses.
My question would be, where will we be buying propane locally, or will it be coming in on a rail, or how's that work?
I think the plan is to purchase it locally, but you'll have to have it, we have to have
Yeah.
a tank on our facility, a pump station at our facility. All right, 73000, sorry, bottom of page 12, operation of non-instructional food service. You don't have to go through all of that because you went through the food service budget already. We do have, 73,300 community services. 189, that's Beverly Drumbarger, is that correct? Yeah, that's her salary. Benefits, travel, the bottom of that, 599, there's about $11,000 for food and clothes for the food pantry and clothes closet that she operates. Total $88,080 in community service. 73,400 early childhood education, line 116, that is for 5 pre-K teachers, 325,400. We get grant funds for 5 pre-Ks. We run 7, and so yeah, right. And we addressed those in the regular teacher category earlier, but so. Educational assistance, 163, there's $172,000 to cover those. Then we have benefits, instructional supplies. So total of that category is 608,261. Sure.
So you mentioned that 2 or 5 were, I can't,
2
2 of them.
Well, no, we operate more teachers, more pre-Ks than we get funding for. So some of those are paid for through, how many are, is there 5 that we get enough money to run 5? So we budget this money, but we get funded for these 5. For these 5 out of this category, we'll get reimbursed funding for that from the state.
That revenue for reimbursement reflected in the revenue section? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, sorry that's confusing. And most of these programs, as what we talked almost about food service earlier, is that eventually we can't fund it anymore with the original funding, so we have to pull funding from over here, and we pull funding from over here. We have people that have to account for how many hours a day they spent paid out of this fund, and then how much they spent out of this fund, and do a PARS report. It's just, and pre-K is like that. We pay for some of it out of the grant, and then we pay for some of it locally. Right. Yeah, and I've specifically asked how much money is in there, in that base for coordinated school health, and they can't tell you. So I specifically asked that question, but they can't tell you. So more to come on that. All right, we have some engineering, capital outlay, bottom of page 13, 76,000, $20,000 for engineering services. You have a list on your notes, your kind of cheat sheets of expenditures of what the capital outlay projects are. They have a total of $616,000 this year. That's over $100,000 less than what we budgeted last year. We didn't address every need or concern that principals had, but we tried to address some critical ones. And as we said before, we'll need to meet as the board would consider it this fall, or maybe this summer rather, at a retreat and discuss our capital improvements plan and what directions what the board might like to go with some big ticket items over the next 5 to 7 years. So that brings us to the total estimated expenditures for $42,324,421. That's a deficit of $4.2 million. That's similar to what we've done in the past. It's certainly more than what we'd like it to be, but as I said, the revenues, as you see, are few and the expenditures are many. We're seeing increases in our salaries and benefits, and we want to support our staff, but that's our most costly expenditure. And as utilities go up and materials and supplies, and you all shop the same places I do, everything's gone up, and it's getting more and more challenging. We've lost many students, as I said, over the years to homeschooling and unschooling, and yeah, everyone now with this funding model is money, and so we're okay right now. I think financially, I think our budget it's high, but I think it's doable. We've not added, as you see, there's no new programs, there's no new positions. I've tried to be very conservative as far as going into this this mindset of where we are financially in this day and age, but there's going to have to be some serious decisions made amongst the local funding body and within the school board about positions and programs moving forward, just like as we discussed in in our cafeteria budget. Something's going to have to change that, turn the tide at some point, and we'll have to make some difficult decisions. But I'm confident in this budget and the program we have going. Very proud of our school system. I'll send you some information, if not this evening, first thing tomorrow. But our school system has achieved much in the past several years. I mean, we have so much to be proud of. We rank very highly in not just the Upper Cumberland, but in the state of Tennessee. Our scores are very good. It is not perfect by any means. We have lots of problems, and there's not a perfect school system out there, but this one you can be very proud of. This tax money is going to good use, and students are being educated well, and we're recognized across the state for doing a good job. So appreciate the opportunity to share this budget with you.
I guess I had one quick question, Mr. Markham. This may be for you. Last year, during this time, we talked about a $3 million deficit. I think around a $3 million, 2.8 to $3.2 million deficit at this time last year. We're at 4.2 this year, but how much are we putting back into our fund balance as far as money going back into savings? I know we said we were going to be in a deficit, but it looks like we're adding money back. So can you give us that number, or do you know that number right off now?
Well, for the 23-24 school year, so the last fiscal year that we closed out, we had transferred some funds into School Federal Projects Fund, and if we hadn't done that, we would have roughly added about $2 million to our fund balance. This year, I mean, we're kind of on the same trajectory, but we don't have all the things closed out there, and are a little bit hesitant in that regard to give you a number.
Okay. Well, I mean, and the reason I'm asking that is because, if we always seem to have a deficit in our budget. I like the fact that we shoot high, but our people do a great job as far as cutting costs where they can. The lighting project that's went on across the county, all of the projects that have happened. We've done a good job as far as being very good with our money. Our folks have, we asked last year, we asked for people to be very mindful of what they were spending and what they were doing. It looks like it's paid off in the long run, and I appreciate Mr. D, you keeping on those folks and doing what we've asked you to do as far as a board to add money back in a very tough economy. I mean, this is probably been one of the toughest economies that we've been in the last 3, 4, 5 years, and I just appreciate that.
Thank you.
I guess clarification, it may be for Mr. Markham. The fund balance on the last page is 11.8 million, but in the last report that you provided in April, it was 19.6. What's the difference between, Mr. Markham, the report you provide to us versus what we're seeing in front of us here?
So where you see there, that was where we were at that point in the fiscal year. We have some back-end heavy expenditures, whether that be payroll or something like that, so that'll draw down on that. This right here would have been as of, thinking the end of 24. So, but that's going to be like a timing difference there.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So last year, we approved a negative 3 million and something dollar budget. This year, it's negative 4.2 million. Am I reading it correctly?
That's correct. That number, the second one to the last number on that page 14, at 4,225,869.
I do have a question about so the new position at the high school, I think I may have been reading something and missed part of what you said earlier, because we've got that. And we've got the new position that was created for the vice principal at Finley.
So, yeah, that's good question. So the vice principal at Finley was already an interim position, and so we just made it permanent. So it's really not a new ad as far as that goes.
So salary pretty much stayed the same?
Yes, very close, very close. So that was kind of a wash, so it wasn't really new. The new position, we have a fantastic graduation coach at White County High School. She does an incredible job, very important to our success rate as far as graduation goes. And that was a state-funded program that was cut, and so I have in our best interest put that one position in our budget, but we're working very closely with the Ayers Foundation, and I'm hoping that they're going to choose us. I'm very optimistic that they are, but we don't know yet. But if they do, they're going to come in with two graduation coaches and a secretary that they pay for, so that money would come out. So that is the only thing that I've added in this budget other than the normal pay raises. So, that's what I want to point out. I recognize, too, that increase in that budget, but it isn't because we've added anything. It's just everything costs more. We've increased salaries, and we're trying to be fair to our employees, and we're having to pay the going rate for what everything costs. But that's what's gone up. But it's not because we've added. I've even reduced, like I said, our capital outlay budget and tried to find places to cut back. So, but thank you for asking about
No,
those
I mean, I
positions.
get it. I just feel like our people in our county is fixing to be hit hard.
Mhm.
And I feel like we need to try to save as much as we can,
Mhm. Yep.
Because we've got elderly people out there
Yeah.
that's fixing to have a really hard time.
Well, I can tell you, in the 9 years that I've been doing this, I've never asked the county for any extra money. We take exactly what they have to give us by law and by the maintenance of effort. I've never asked the taxpayers for any more money. So we've operated within our means, and I can plan to continue to do that. And but that shows in this budget. I was cognizant of the fact that even though everything was going up and we're going to have to pay more, I didn't add a lot of other stuff that would have been on top of what the cost of business is.
So, quick question on the Ayers Foundation. You were talking about that program. I think it's benefited several counties around us in a great way. And Ms. Rushing, as being our graduation coach at the high school, has done a fantastic job. Is that something that would we get to keep her there in that position, or is that something that would be totally up to that foundation?
It is up to them. It's their employee, but she's already interviewed with them, and I've told them if they don't come to us, they still better hire her because she's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I think she's already interviewed with them, and our hope is that they obviously want to place people that know us and know our situation. So I think that would be a no-brainer on their part. But we're very hopeful that We had a good visit with them. We're very hopeful that they'll choose us. And once they come in, they're there forever. So they're as long as their foundation exists, they're there. So it's a big deal. So we're hoping. But we did budget for her a salary because we want to keep her if we can.
Okay. Any other questions for Director on the proposed budget that we've been presented with tonight?
It's not a question, it's a thank you. And I'll speak for our other two new members. This has been very enlightening, and I appreciate the level of detail that's been provided by everybody tonight, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome job, Miss Allie. I love our papers this time.
Yeah, Ms. Sally, the cheat sheets, I know you and Mr. D put some effort in that, and the cheat sheet, the information you sent to us Saturday about how we read these budgets, because when you don't look at them but once a year, especially the first time you see it, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not of an accounting background. So, all right, so I'm going to tell you where I think we are in this discussion. So we've gone through our budget, and that's been proposed to us, and it is an increase of from what was proposed last year. Just put it in perspective, as Mr. D was talking about where the difference between this coming year's budget versus one that we're in right now. Last year we proposed, we passed a budget, was a proposal for 24-25 of $41 million. It's been amended since then to $42 million. That would include monies coming in, various funds, and the expenses that they were that would be offset with that revenue. What we're being presented with for 25-26 year, or fiscal year 26, is 42.3%. So just in perspective, my calculations, I'm not an accountant, but it's our amended budget for this year versus our proposed budget for next year is an increase of about 0.5%. So, and I'd ask Mr. D to look at that with me tonight before meeting, and just he agreed that it was close. So just put it in perspective where we're spending now versus what's been presented to us that we'll consider on Thursday. There's about 0.5% difference between the two numbers. So what I have on, unless somebody caught something that I did not, you have the information presented on the budget proposal. I have another couple days to look at it. Two items that I've noted that we need to consider, or it would be considered on Thursday night, is that bonus of non-licensed staff, and Mr. D is going to get us all cost on that, what that would look like, and then director salary. So those are the two things that I have down that we would need to address in this budget that's been discussed tonight. So be prepared to speak on that Thursday night. Do you recall if I missed anything?
No, I think it's correct.
Okay.
That's what I have.
All right, that's what I had. So, if no other questions on our budget proposals, then we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's a review of the AIA contract for classroom additions at Bondi Dole Elementary. So there is in your folder for for tonight's meeting, copy of the industry standard AIA contract between owners and contractors, and this is a contract document that was submitted for the additions to to the Doyle Elementary School. It was a bid, and that was run through by up by the county. That was put out by the county, and Mr. Markham was part of that. Midstate Construction Company out of Livingston was the bid winner, and with a sum of 1.74 million for the renovations. So this contract is in your folder. What Mr. D has brought to my attention said that if we approve this in our special meeting coming up this Thursday, that would give the contractors 2 extra weeks to get started on the work. Might help them given some of the weather we've had, and have a couple weeks buffer. So that was at the request of Mr. Markham. If we want to consider that Thursday night during our regular scheduled meeting, it'll be on the agenda, so we can bring it up at that time if we want to go on and approve that contract. So keep that in mind as we prepare for our meeting on Thursday. Anything you'd like to speak to that? Did anything needs to be added?
Just want to note, this addition is 7 classrooms and some storage to the front of the school. It'll look very similar to way it looks now. We're just bringing, because what you're looking at from the playground is a hallway, and so we're just building rooms on the other side of that hallway. Give them very much needed space to do all the spreading out they need to do. They're crammed in with, they're a little bit bigger than Northfield at this point. And so we're looking for space that they don't have space to do all the RTI and tutoring that's mandated throughout the day. They're in closets and on top of each other. So this will give them that space. So excited about it. It is $1.7 million that would come out of our fund balance. It come out of our savings account, so it wouldn't affect this budget. But we feel confident in what we've been contributing. As I've talked to Mr. Markham, what we've been able to contribute back to savings over the years, that this is a doable project and won't put us in any financial harm. Very much needed for them to have the room to do the program the way it needs to be done at Doyle, and one we're excited about doing. So we've worked with Midstate. They're the ones that did the Bondycroft edition. So we've had a really good relationship with them, and excited to work with them again. And if the board would entertain it, it would just allow us, we can certainly put it off till June, but we wanted the board to consider it because it will give them an opportunity to get started and get going as soon as possible.
One quick question, and Chad, this may be a question for you as well. Going ahead and locking this bid in now, is there contingency built in this with the aspects of tariffs and all the things and price increase? Is there contingency built into that? And is there a possibility this could come in under budget?
So there are contingency funds in that contract, but what they bid is they're locked into. So they
No
have to
more. I mean,
Right.
it wouldn't cost us any more than that.
No, I mean unless we found some huge issue that run through our contingency and we had to do something else with. But
Unless
we've
there's
done
some
Yeah,
endangered frog or
Right, but
something, or
we've done
bats
some-
or something down
right.
there that
Change orders, right?
change.
Yeah, we've done some subsurface observations work, and everything seems to be good in that regard, so we don't see that being an issue. But they've been locked in to their pricing, and they'll submit a schedule of values that shows all that stuff. to
So I
us.
know, just being on the property down there and looking at where that's all gonna go, I mean, it's gonna look nice, but, it's taking out that basketball court that's been there for years. Are they just gonna move stuff out to make room for those kids to still have? Because I know they've added 30 minutes of recess time to, the state has mandated time for recess now. So is that going to be, I mean, are they going to fix the playground back like it is now, or will that be?
So one of the things we'll do at the end of the project, like at the end, we're going to try and have some money left over, and like we did the sign at Bondycroft with money that was left over. So what we plan to do at Doyle is to put a walking track through that area. They will lose that pavement area where the basketball is now, but we're going to work, our plan is to work with the city to reallocate that to make the basketball area where there is a pavement area over in the
Where
corner now.
the old tennis court.
Sure. And so we're going to have a basketball area there, and then we're going to join that with a walking trail to give them an area. That's something that the principal said. And it still gives them a little bit of grassy area in the front to play. And then, of course, when they do field day, they have lots of space in the back if they go out back and do that sort of
The
thing.
only thing that scares me with that campus is that terrible curve right there where that where that old tennis court is. You know, there's not as much traffic on that road now, but there's still a lot of heavy equipment that comes through going to that rock quarry. So that just scares me, those kids being that close to that road. But if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do, you know.
Yeah, they're out there every day. I agree with you. It's a dangerous road, but I mean, there's not as many in that corner perhaps. But yeah, but it's not going to take up too much space, but it is going to come out 30 feet from where it is now, and roughly.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions about the contract for Dole Edition? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to next time on agenda is public comment, and there were no one asked to be recognized tonight. So that leads us into the final agenda items on our agenda. There's no new business on our agenda. There's no old business, and that brings us to chairman's comments. So our next meeting will be here at the VOE Thursday, the 29th. That will be our budget meeting, where we will take action on the proposed budget, and that will be here at VOE. And then our next regular scheduled school board meeting will be June 12th, and that will also be here at the VOE, as will all meetings going forward unless otherwise advised. So those are chairman's comments. So next item is going to be adjournment. Before I take a moment, Mr. McDonald, just again, want to thank everybody for being here and staff for accommodating us tonight and for giving us a little nourishment to sustain us through this meeting. But appreciate all the work, and with that, I will take a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.